Hi, welcome to the bathtub. It is I, ye old masturbator. Ye old masturbator. Be careful how you say that. This is Reading Great Books in the Bathtub. You all know it. And it's brought to you by, this month it's brought to you by 3 paragraphs in the life of Bob Johnson. If it's not 3 paragraphs, it's not Bob Johnson. This is a little novel we wrote here. I wrote here at the bathtub when I wasn't wasting my time even worse in the bathtub. I wrote this novel. It's a novel in 303-paragraph short stories about a guy named Bob Johnson, and it's complete has no redeeming social value, absolutely whatsoever. It's just I think it's pretty funny, and I'm going to put a little link to my Substack page where Bob Johnson may be making a return appearance. I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of control over Bob, as I don't have much control over the current administration. No pixels, fresh sugar-free cranberry juice from the mountains. The carb-free edition. You all know the drill. We're trying to do some things here at the bathtub, which is, I stack up books. I know what I have to do my next talk on because I had a stack. I can't avoid the stack. So I'm trying to clear out a couple of big stacks today, and I'll run these over the next few days. This episode, we just finished reading through all of Cormac McCarthy's books that I could find. There they all are. Decent life's work from the old fart, and who died a few years ago, shortly after publishing his last 2 novels, which were Stella Maris and The Passenger, which we just talked about. I thought, just for stupidity's sake, because people seem to like arguing over different lists, making lists and then arguing about them. So I like doing that too. So I thought I would make my own list. Can I do this without knocking everything over? I think I can. I think I might get the little engine that could. I think I can. Anyway, I'm going to take these in reverse order. Oh my God, not easy. Oh my God. I'm going to work my way up from my least favorite. So basically, I liked everything by Cormac McCarthy. Everything I've read by him, I've liked. I've read most of his books at least twice, some 3 or 4 times. And I thought I would just sort of go through and say which one my favorite, go from my least favorite to all the way to my favorite, just for the hell of it. And then you guys can argue about it and say which ones you like best. And we'll all be happy. You need to splash around the bathtub, get a little energy. Anyway, my least favorite of the batch were probably the plays. A play in 5 acts of Stonemason. I enjoyed reading it, but it's way at the bottom of my list. And the other one that goes to the bottom of my list is The Gardener's Son. I think it's a screenplay, but he's not a screenwriter. A lot of us novelists aren't very good at screenwriting. He gives you too much information. I like both of them. This is a kind of a crime, somebody waiting, I can't remember, someone waiting on death row. I forget what happens in it. Anyway, I liked it. I probably wouldn't reread it. These are all those books I probably wouldn't reread. My least favorite of his serious novels is probably Cities of the Plain. So I reviewed all of the whole trilogy, and I liked the trilogy. I enjoyed reading. Like I said, I've enjoyed all the books of his I've read. I've read this 2 or 3 times, and I keep thinking I'll like it more. And this last time I didn't. I found the knife fight. There's like a 20-30 page knife fight, isn't there? Oh, we need that. We need it. Allergies coming. Anyway, I was the third and final volume of the Border trilogy, Cities of the Plain. I don't think I'll read that again. So I'm going to be 70 pretty soon, and I'm only going to have so much room to reread books. The Counselor, the first time I read it, we talked about it. I liked it. It was an interesting novel. Oh, it's a screenplay. I've heard the movie's not very good. The book, the screenplay is horrifying. It's a really horrifying story, and well written as usual, and it's so kind of horrifying. I don't think I want to read it again, and I don't want to see the movie. But I did. I was glad I read it. Okay, All the Pretty Horses. Again, I liked all these books when I read them. I've read that 2 or 3 times. There's a lot of really fun stuff in it, and some beautiful writing. And again, I've read it 2 or 3 times. That's enough. I don't think I'll read it again. It's down at the bottom of my list of his books. We get into The Orchard Keeper. I think this is his first novel. And I would put this above. I might reread this again. I enjoyed what I read when I read it. I read it twice, and this last time I read it, I thought it was quite good. And I don't remember it very well, but I would read that again. No Country for Old Men. I read that when it came out. Saw the movie, reread it. The first half is great, and then the last third I find kind of a little boring, and I don't think I'd read it again, but I did like it. Sunset Limited. So we're working our way up. I would put this above No Country for Old Men. I didn't like it the first time I read it, and the second time I really did like it. This relationship with this black man and this white man, and their various views of life. My favorite of the Border trilogy was not All the Pretty Horses, but The Crossing, and I really liked that. I don't think I'll reread this either. I mean, I've read it 2 or 3 times and reviewed it, and really liked it, and it's definitely up there with my favorite of his books. Okay. Above that, I still like I like Child of God better. That horrific guy, serial killer with the frozen bodies for company, which is a pretty dark, short novel. And I've read that a few times. I might reread that again. Though I'm not champing at the bit to read that all these years. Outer Dark, an early one. This is the one about the brother and the sister who get separated and go through this, just, again, nightmarish West. The West of just nightmares and horrors and violence, and I think they come together at the end. Or something horrible happens to everybody in Cormac's books. But I might read that again too, if I'm really feeling like being depressed and being scared, because it's quite a scary book. Blood Meridian, again, many of us was our favorite of his books. Incredible writing, incredible piece of prose. I liked it. I liked a lot of his books better after this, but it is a book I might read again, and I did like it quite a bit. So we get to the last really 3 books. I would say my third favorite of his books would be The Road. It's the one I'd say it's the first choice. If you've never read McCarthy, you should read The Road. It's a good way to start. And the darkness at the end is alleviated a little bit, from McCarthy. And it's his post-Holocaust novel. And so in many ways, as a post-Holocaust novel, are his last 2 books, The Passenger and Stella Maris, because they basically contemplate a brother-sister relationship whose father was involved in creating the nuclear bomb. And they basically, most of the conversations come around to the fact that nuclear war is inevitable. We've created this world where that's going to have to happen. And it's about... I would put this as my second favorite of his books. It almost comes with my favorite in a way. I do think these last 2 books of his are incredible books. We've talked a little bit. This is a bit of a spoiler here, so don't listen too carefully. But it's almost as if this is one of our bathing buddies said it's like Schrodinger's cat. We don't know what happened to either of these characters. They could have lived or they could have died. At one point, the younger sister has committed suicide. At another point, the brother has been in an auto accident which left him basically in a coma. And there is the possibility that each of these books are posthumous fantasies of each of them outliving the other and remembering their lives together. Because, as they say in both these books, often over and over again, the greatest future possibility we have is to be remembered by people we love. And that's quite moving. That's quite powerful. My favorite McCarthy book, I don't know where it's coming from. It's allergy time, I guess. I never read it before. This is the first time I read Suttree all the way through. A lot of our bathing buddies have written and saying, that's my favorite McCarthy. I love that book. I've read it many times. I understand. I never got it before. It's also his least depressing book because it's about all these people. They're in Knoxville they're all in Knoxville. It's about Suttree as a writer who's basically estranged from everybody in his family. And he hangs out with the craziest psychopathic group of people. And it's hilarious. And there's some the funniest scenes I've ever read. Beautifully written from beginning to end. I will definitely reread Suttree someday, or if I live long enough. And I would definitely like to reread his last 2 books. Again, they have to be read together. I think you have to read them together. You have to read Stella Maris after The Passenger. And it doesn't have to be immediately, but sometime after. Okay, those are the three I'll definitely reread. Maybe Blood Meridian again. That's my 2 bits. Stay safe. Sorry for the coughing. And now I can put these back on the shelf and move some other stuff around. Okay, stay safe. Bye.